Hello. Let me first introduce myself. I am a 26-year-old female dialysis patient. I have end-stage kidney failure. I have been on peritoneal dialysis for about 5 years now. Peritoneal dialysis is completely different than hemodialysis, so if that is what you're looking for information about, this is not that. This is completely different. Let's see here. This is the Baxter homechoice automated peritoneal dialysis system. They call it the cycler. If you look to the right here, you'll see the Baxter logo. I have already turned it on. The machine is plugged in right now and turned on. They recommend that you put it on a cart with wheels so that you can move around once you are hooked up. You can unplug the machine from the wall when you're hooked up, so like you could go to the bathroom, or if you want to move around the house, as long as there aren't any stairs involved, you'd be able to do so. I have the machine next to my bed. I have it level with my level, what it would be when I'm sleeping. It has to be level with your body when you're doing the treatment because of gravity. The machine works with gravity, and the machine needs to be level with you. Sorry, I had a little dust on the bottom there. So the machine has to be level with you when you're doing the cycle for it to work with gravity. They'll explain that to you. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not here to give you medical advice or any kind of medical diagnosis. I'm simply here to show you how to insert a program, my program, into the cycler. Just kind of to show you the basics of how it works. Now, to turn it on, there is a switch to the rear right of the cycler where you can't see it, but it's back here, and it goes down and then up to turn on. Turned it on again just then, so you're gonna see it turn on here. Sorry about my hand in the way. Sorry about that again. It beeps pretty loud. So here's the main screen, so to speak. This is kind of like a computer. Press go to start. This would mean that you are ready to start your dialysis cycle for the night. And since that's not what we're doing right now, that's not what we're going to do. I'm going to show you each prompt. We're not going to go into every one, but I am going to tell you what each one is just for now. So you have press go to start, which it was when you're ready to start your therapy. Down, there is no up, just so you know. Down is change program. Go down again, there's make adjustments. This is like adjustments to the machine, brightness, loudness, temperature of the heater on top. That is a heater. Keep pressing down, you have eye drain volume. This is from my last therapy. It shows you the very last one. So the last time that you were hooked up to the machine, this is your last eye drain volume. Then it's going to show your last UF, which means ultra filtration. I'll go into that a little bit more later. It shows your average dwell time of your last cycle. There is an alarm log. It shows when, like how many times during your therapy the machine alarms out, which there are different reasons for the machine to alarm out. I'll get into those maybe in this video, maybe in another video. There's a therapy log. It stores your therapy for up to, I want to say, a month. There's the time of day, 10:47 p.m. And there's just the software version of the machine. Any of these, if you hit enter, you can alter, except for these. This is just the information from your last cycle. But any of these other, like make adjustments, change program, you hit enter and you can go into it. We're going to go into change program. The first option you get is therapy. Mine is set at title. You should get a program from your nurse or doctor that has all of your information on it. You can see here there is what you do on the left and what you see on the cycler. Right now we're seeing therapy title. It'll either say that, or if we hit enter, you see the title now flashes, which means that you can alter it to something else. Again, there's no, well, this is the top. Okay, there's, if you go up one, it's high dose CCPD, and up one more is high dose title. Then I had title, that's my therapy, and then there's CCPD/IPD. This is going to be specific to every patient. Your doctor or nurse is going to tell you which one you're going to be using. I won't get into the differences of them right now. I'm just showing you how to enter whichever is specific for you. So when you choose the one that is your program, hit enter. When it stops blinking, it's selected. So we press down again, and now we're on to total volume. Total volume on my program here on the paper, 8,000 milliliters, which is what I have in the machine. Again, if I hit enter, the 8,000 flashes, meaning that now I can change it by going up or down. 8,000 is the total amount of fluid that I will go through in a complete night of dialysis. It goes in increments of 500. Go up or down. Again, this is going to be specific to your situation. So when it is set on whatever they have designated for your total volume amount, you hit enter, it stops blinking, then that setting is in the machine. Now, the next two things on my prescription, so to speak, they kind of call this a prescription. Number of day fills and day fill volume. Well, you'll notice if I hit down, it says neither of those. Because there is a note here, if you do not use high dose title, this setting will not appear. Same thing for the next. If you do not use high dose title, this setting will not appear. I do not use high dose title, so neither of those is going to appear for me, but the next on the list is going to be therapy time. And as you can see, there's my therapy time, 9.5 hours. If I hit enter, I can change the amount of time. It goes in increments of 10. I used to have a 9-hour therapy, then they changed it to 9.5. So that can happen sometimes for different reasons, all depending on your situation. So the therapy time is now set. The next down is going to be fill volume. This is throughout the night you do a number of cycles. Each of those cycles is a drain and then a fill. Drains your peritoneal cavity of the fluid, and then it will fill with fresh fluid. The fill volume here is how much goes into your peritoneal cavity for each individual cycle. Your fill volume is going to vary. Mine's 1400 milliliters. Some people can tolerate a higher amount, some people can tolerate less. And it really depends on the person. It does not always depend on the size of the body. Sometimes a larger person, you would think they could hold more fluid, but it all comes down to what feels comfortable. Your doctor or nurse will test different amounts and see where you feel comfortable. There are times when, like, if I've eaten a lot of food right before I hook up, I definitely feel fuller. So, you know, there will be a number for you that is suitable and comfortable for you. If I hit enter, get it to flash here so I can change it. It goes up and down by the hundreds. Not really sure if there's an average. I think, like I said, every person is just different. Now, the next is tidal volume. My prescription here is at 85%, and this will be a little bit easier to understand in a minute, but basically every cycle when the machine drains, it is only going to drain 85% of the fluid that it put in. It's going to leave what they call a puddle. This is for comfort more than anything. When the machine drains, I experience frequent pain during it. It's not unbearable pain. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's not always unbearable. Sometimes it's just kind of uncomfortable and unpleasant. This is to avoid that, especially since, you know, you're trying to sleep at night and do this. You don't want to be waking up with every drain cycle feeling the pain, because essentially you have a hose inside of your abdominal cavity that is suctioning, and it can get caught on anything and everything that's in there. So by leaving the puddle, it's not going to be suctioning on as much stuff. It's going to be kind of floating around in that puddle. And that's going to be specific to everybody's situation, so that may be something completely different for you. Mine is 85%. If you change it, it goes in increments of 5. So again, that will vary based on the patient. If I go down one, now it's total UF. Again, UF means ultrafiltration. This is the goal for the cycler. This is what we want to happen after the whole therapy is done. The cycler has 300 milliliters on here. This is a positive number. If it was a negative number, there would be a little minus sign in front of the number. That would not happen here. That would happen at the end of your therapy, and I'll show you that then. But the thing is, you want the machine to give you a positive UF when you're done. If the machine has a positive UF, it means you have a negative UF, meaning that is how much the machine took from your body, like the bad stuff, so to speak. If this was telling me that the UF from a whole night of therapy was 300 milliliters, it would mean that the machine took 300 milliliters of bad stuff from my body. If at the end of your therapy the machine gives you a negative number, which is possible, it may happen sometimes, it means that the fluid, that much fluid was added to your body. It's not necessarily bad fluid, it's just that your body absorbed fluid, which is not what you want to happen. It's not necessarily detrimental, and I have had nights where I've absorbed a little bit of fluid, but usually it's a pretty small number. So that's again something that's just kind of specific to each person, and if you're getting negative UFs from the machine constantly, there's probably some kind of issue, and that's something that you would need to address with your doctor. So my goal UF is 300. That's something that the nurse and doctors decided on. This can change in increments of 10. I usually actually get a UF of close to 600, so I'm getting better than the goal. If I go down one, I get the last fill volume. Last fill volume is 300 milliliters for me. This means at the end of everything, the machine is going to put 300 milliliters into my body to remain there during the day. This is, again, kind of a comfort thing, so that the tube inside my peritoneal cavity has that puddle where it's not just floating around inside a dry cavity. They would call it dry. So this is what's called a puddle. This is just to make it more comfortable for me throughout the day, so I'm not feeling it moving around, hitting things. It does happen sometimes still, but probably not nearly as much as if I were dry during the day. And then usually, whenever you start, not usually, this is 100% of the time, when you start a cycle, it does what's called an initial drain. So it's going to get some of this back in that initial drain. It usually never gets all of it back, but it gets some back. It's kind of like you want to take out the old dirty oil out of your car before you put in new every time. So every night it does that initial drain to get rid of that stuff that's been in there all day. So if I go down one, this is going to be dextrose level. And you can see this note here. It says, this step is skipped if the last fill volume is 0. So if your doctors decide that, or you want to be dry during the day, you're not going to see this. Because I have that last fill, I see this. If I wanted to change this, it would be different. So you have either same or different. The day fill for me is just the same dextrose, and there's a whole nother situation with that I can explain in another video, but that's kind of a special situation. I have a second page. We go down one. It says full drains every 6. And then if you'll notice, and I'm having to go a little ahead here, it says cycles 6. That means for every cycle, it's doing a full drain. So I don't know, that's a little, I even get a little stumped on some of these sometimes, but full drains every 6. Okay, so this full drains every 6, I'm not entirely sure what that means. It does say here, standard mode. This setting will not appear in the standard mode if tidal full drains is set to no. This setting must be increased from 1 to get tidal exchange. So I do the tidal therapy, so I have to increase it to the number of cycles I'm doing. Again, this is why I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. They gave me the prescription. I put it in the machine. You know, I trust them to get my therapy right. So that I can't fully explain to you. I can just show you how to put it in. You know, you can change it by, they go by 1. So whatever your number is going to be, and then enter. I want to go down. Weight, either kilograms or pounds. My medical facility uses kilograms. Then you're going to have to enter your weight. I don't know why this says 1 kilogram, but that's definitely not right. Again, if you hold down the arrow, it'll go a lot faster and it won't beep. So I'm about at 59 kilograms right now. I'm going to hit that, enter. Now that's in there. Now, if you see, we press and this is it. There's nothing after patient weight. So now it tells you even here on the form to hit stop. Now when you hit stop, this information here is going to pop up on the cycler. It's going to tell you that it's going to do 6 cycles. Each dwell cycle is going to be 1 hour and 18 minutes. Tidal volume 1190, UF per cycle 50. Meaning, like I said, 6 cycles, dwell time 1 hour and 17, or 1 hour and 18 is what the machine gave me, but it's only a minute off, so I'm not really concerned about that. Tidal volume 1190, that was that where we put in the 85%, that this is 85% of the 1400. That's where they're getting that number from. And UF per cycle, if you remember, it was 300 UF for the whole night. So 300 divided by 6 cycles equals, it should be about 50 milliliters being drained off from my body in each cycle. So that is how you program the cycler. I also have part of my program is with my initial drain, and this you'll have to go into, if you have anything special with your initial drain, you'll have to go into make adjustments, keep going until you get to eye drain alarm. So you had to click down a few times. So the first one was brightness, loudness, auto dim. That means that it'll kind of go into a sleep mode. Here's the to set the clock. Here's to set the date. And here's the eye drain alarm. Now the eye drain alarm means during the initial drain it needs to get at least this amount of fluid out or else it will not stop. My eye drain alarm is set to 0. So even if it does not get any fluid out, it should move on. It's not trying to get out 50 or trying to get out 100. You can change that accordingly. It goes up in 10s. Usually, I believe eye drains are not going to be high unless you have a high day fill. So enter for that. Comfort control, this is the heater. It's in Celsius. It goes up to 37 and down to 35. There's not a whole lot of variation with that. I don't know that that really makes too much of a difference, but you definitely want the solution to be warm when it's going into your body. Now, in this Make Adjustments menu, they have last manual drain. For me, it's yes. It's either yes or no. I'm not really going to get into that. That's going to be patient specific. So that's, you know, it's either going to be a yes or no for you. You're going to know that when you're entering the program. UF target says 0. I have 0 on the machine. It goes up in increments of 50. So again, that will be specific to you. And alarm should say yes. So I'm going to change that to yes instead of no. So you have yes or no. And mine's yes. So when you're done with all these adjustments within a certain menu, or even like I can go back to one of these, or I can go to the very last one, it doesn't matter. But when I'm done, I'm going to hit stop. And then here we are back at the main menu. So that is how you program the cycler. Again, if you have any questions, I can do my best to answer them, but anything specific to your case, you really should talk to your nurse or doctor. I'll have another video on how to set up the cycler for night's dialysis therapy. We'll just start with this one, and if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm welcome to feedback and suggestions. So thank you for watching. I hope that it was helpful, and have a good rest of your day.